Good afternoon and welcome to today's session on an owner's guide to the lean and mean IT infrastructure by Mr. Vishal Shah. I am Prasanna, co-host of the event today. Let me introduce today's presenter, Mr. Vishal Shah, CEO and co-founder of Cinesoft Technologies. He is known as seasoned technology stalwart, an inventor of specific patented technologies, a writer, a serial entrepreneur, an investor, and most importantly, a go-to guy for MSMEs. Today, Vishal sir will explain how to optimize IT investment to maximize return on investment in IT. He will explain basic difference in IT investment approach for a large enterprises versus MSME. Also will cover optimization of investment in hardware and software. He will also give hands-on tip to minimize recurring cost of the internet bandwidth, cloud backup and email services. It will be followed by a live demonstration and a question and answer session. By the end of this session, you will all have clear visuals on magnitude of investments in IT and expenses on IT using lean mean approach. If you have any questions while you watch this demonstration, kindly write in the question and answer tab in the bottom of your Zoom login. The panel will take up the question at the end of the session. Alternatively, in case you want to ask any question in the end of the session, you may please raise your hand. We shall activate your microphone to ask the question. Vishal sir, can you please take it ahead from here?
Yeah, thank you, Prasanna, for another generous introduction. Good afternoon, all of you, and I welcome you to this session. We have selected the topic to be lean and mean IT infrastructure. We know that IT infrastructure is a significant capital investment, as well as it also contributes to a lot of operative expenses. And that's the reason it is important to know if there is any possibility to minimize that investment without compromising with the return on the investment. So we have selected this topic, and this session, I have planned this session in a flow. So first of all, we will understand what do we include in the definition of IT infrastructure. Then we will understand everything with a view to one model organization. So we will have one imaginary organization for which we will do an exercise to create an IT infrastructure vis-a-vis achievement of certain IT objectives. So we will imagine an organization, we will take out some most common IT objectives any organization would like to achieve by investing in IT infrastructure. And once that particular IT infrastructure, we are able to visualize what kind of IT infrastructure it will require, we will try to cost estimate it with the traditional approach. Then we will discuss certain ideas how we can save upon the cost on that particular traditional approach. And then we will see if we implement such ideas, how much cost we can save. And that's how we will achieve the objective of this particular session in learning how we can create lean and mean IT infrastructure. So IT infrastructure is created as soon as an organization is started up, or as soon as a new branch or a new expansion facility is created. IT investment happens. Then IT investment continuously goes on with the upgradation, with the discarding of the old hardware, or upgradation of the software, or buying new type of software, subscribing to bandwidth, and so many other avenues in which we spend money on IT. So we will see how we can minimize it. So before we go ahead in the further slide, I would request Prasanna to launch a poll so that at least I can understand the composition of the audience and I can relate the following session. So as we see on the screen, the poll results, we would like to know who is attending this webinar. So 13% of the attendees are owners or custodian of the enterprise. 67% of the attendees are IT professional managing SME IT infrastructure, and 20% of the attendees are system integrator or IT consultant helping the MSME. So we have approximately 87% of the attendees who are in this business. And it will be very fruitful for all of us to understand if we can bring down the investment in IT for our own customer or our own employer. So we will now move to the next slide and we'll try to understand what should we include in IT infrastructure. What are the inclusions in IT infrastructure? So I have divided IT infrastructure in three parts: hardware, software, and services. Hardware, we require desktops for our in-office users. Workstations, we require for our users who use very hardware intensive software like Autodesk software, SolidWorks software. We also need laptops for our remote users, work from home users, traveling users. We need servers to host our applications. We need servers to store our data. We need NAS or network attached storage device to store our data. We also need switch for communicating between the server and the client as well as between peer-to-peer clients. We also need firewall router to protect our data and to manage our network. In terms of software, we need operating system on every computer. It could be Windows 10, 11, Linux, Mac. We also need productivity software like MS Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. We need email client as Outlook or Thunderbird kind of. We also need a technical software if our nature of business requires it. It could be AutoCAD, SolidWorks, CorelDRAW, Photoshop, etc. And we also need ERP and CRM software to run our operations. So this is a software part of IT infrastructure. And in services, we require internet as a resource, we need internet as a connectivity mode. We also need cloud backup to take care of any disaster situation. We also need email services. We need email services with good security, antivirus, anti-spam, so that we can communicate with the world. And we also need antivirus service on our desktops so that our data is protected. So these are the three different heads in which IT infrastructure is created. And while creating IT infrastructure, either investment goes in or expenses are incurred. In hardware and software, the investment happens, and in services, the expenses are incurred. So this is what we include in IT infrastructure. And in the next slide, we will now imagine a model organization. We will discuss what objectives such an IT infrastructure should achieve. And then we will try to derive IT infrastructure and we will try to cost estimate it traditionally. So before we move to the next slide, I request Prasanna to launch the poll just to understand which head our attendees are thinking are more important to focus on. So as we see on the screen, 37% of the attendees think that high hardware cost is a concern. 16% of the attendees believe that high software cost is a concern, and 47% of the attendees say high recurring subscription cost is the concern. Let me tell you, um, we are seeing that the people minimum percentage of the attendees think that software cost is not a concern, but when we move ahead into further slides, I'm sure that you will change your opinion. So now let us imagine a model organization for which we would like to create an IT infrastructure traditionally, and then we will understand some ideas, and then we will try to create lean and mean IT infrastructure. So first of all, let us imagine an organization. Since this particular session and most of the topics we cover are mostly related to MSMEs, we are also going to model an MSME setup for everyone's understanding. So let us say there is an organization which operates from two locations. There are 40 users at location one. Out of these 40 users, 10 users are using design software, which are hardware intensive software and require very fast and resourceful hardware. At the location two, there are only 5 users. It could be a godown or warehouse. They have 20 work from home users or remote users or the people who want to access data and applications on the move. And let us imagine or model what kind of software they are using. So most of the MSMEs use Tally as ERP. So let's assume that they're using Tally as a software. They use Word, Excel, PowerPoint type of applications. They use email client for their emails, and they're using PDF for opening the PDF files. So this is a software list which is good for most of the MSMEs. And those 10 design users might be using Autodesk or SolidWorks or that kind of software. Now we want to create an IT infrastructure for this particular organization. So we need certain objectives to be very clear so that we can define and we can select the required IT infrastructure to achieve those objectives. So I have defined few objectives over here, and that is software license compliance. Every organization would like to be compliant. Data centralization is another objective of creating IT infrastructure. Data loss prevention due to deletion, infection, and disaster is another objective. Remote access of data files is another objective. Remote access of ERP and CRM software is another objective we want to achieve by creating the IT infrastructure. Data theft prevention over USB, emails, and internet is another objective we want to achieve. And work from home readiness we want to achieve. And today it sounds very relevant. Now, again, we are all we are all reading the news that now COVID might be a reality again. So again, work from home readiness. So these are the objectives which we expect our IT infrastructure to achieve. And these are the objectives which are non-negotiable. You need all these things when you invest in IT infrastructure or expand on IT infrastructure. So we take it as these objectives and we will try to create IT infrastructure of the same. So before we move to the next slide, which is about creating IT infrastructure with traditional approach and cost estimation, I would like to request Prasanna to run a poll so that let me understand from the attendees, which objective is more important to them. Yeah, Prasanna, can you please run the poll? So as we see the poll results on the screen for question 1, what best represents your enterprise? So multi-locations with remote users represents almost 57% of the organizations attending this session. 5% are single location. 33% of the attendees belong to an organization with a size of 15 to 100 computer users, and 5% are 100 plus computer users. So yes, this confirms that most of the attendees are MSMEs. So we will make this more relevant to MSMEs. Now, in order to understand the importance of the objectives from every attendee's point of view. So here, software license compliance is important only for 5% of the people. Data centralization is important for 19% of the people. Data loss prevention from deletion, infection, and disaster is important for 48% of the people. Remote access of data files is important for 10% of the people. Remote access of the applications, most of the organizations or attendees don't require it. Data theft prevention over USB emails and internet is a concern for 10% of the people, and data security for work from home users is also important to 10% of the people. So now, given these objectives on the screen, let's say we want to create IT infrastructure traditionally and we want to cost estimate it. So let us see how we do it. So here, if you look at it, we will require 35 desktops for the given organization. And those desktops would be kind of i3, 8 GB RAM, 500 GB hard disk, and 15-inch display monitor. This is very general requirement. And the hardware only would be, even if we squeeze and negotiate very hard, it would not be less than 18,000 rupees. It's a hardware for those desktops with display. So that would cost around 6,30,000 rupees. Then we will require workstation for those 10 users who work on heavy software, who will require Xeon 16 GB, 240 GB SSD, 1 TB data storage, and 20-inch display. Even if we squeeze and negotiate very hard, it will cost 76,000 rupees per unit, and that would cost 7,60,000 rupees. Then we will have to give laptops to the remote users, very minimum config laptop, which is 26,000 rupees, bare minimum. Then we will have to invest in the tally hardware. hardware for hosting tele server. Minimum server would be around 65,000 rupees. Then we will have to invest in VPN firewall router because we have many users who are working from home. We have many users, 5 users who are working from another office. So around 25 VPN users and 40 internet users, we will require a VPN firewall, and that would be approximately 50,000 rupees bare minimum. And we will have a good 16 terabyte of storage because we have almost 65 users. So we will have approximately 16 terabyte of NAS storage, out of which only 8 terabyte is used, and we require SSD caching on that NAS because many of our users are working on heavy software which generates large files. So that would bare minimum cost 1,50,000 rupees. So total hardware cost would be 21,75,000 rupees if we want to create all the infrastructure on premise. So this would be the hardware cost. Now on this hardware, we will have to install the software also. So we will see now how much would be the cost of software. So on 35 desktops, we will have to install Windows 11 that costs 14,000 rupees. So that would be around 5 lakhs of rupees. On those workstations also, we have to install Windows 11. On laptops hardware, we will also have to comply with Windows 11. On Tele ERP server, we have to install Windows Server. So that would cost 70,000 rupees. We'll have to take client access license for 65 users, which will cost around 2,500 rupees. I think this is now 3,500 rupees, but let's say you have negotiated very well. Then for 20 remote users on 5 users on location 2, you will require remote desktop CALs, which is around 6,500 rupees. Now I think it is 8,500, but yes, let's say you have negotiated. Then you would require MS Office and Outlook on every computer for the productivity of the user, and that would cost you around 26,000 rupees if you buy it on as a software, and if you subscribe to it, that would cost you around 7,000 rupees per user per year. Then you have Tele, you have to buy Tele, which is multi-user, around 50,000-60,000 rupees. So total software cost on that hardware of 21,550,000 rupees, the total software cost would be approximately 31 lakhs of rupees when we want to create good IT infrastructure for 65 users traditionally. Then you would also like to run this hardware with software, and you would like to equip them with certain services. So you will require internet bandwidth at your location 1 so that the remote users can log in and work. Your users can explore the internet. So you might require 20 Mbps internet lease line. You might require 40 Mbps broadband at your location 2. You might require backup over internet from location 1 and location 2, which is a backup internet line. In case the primary line goes down, you would require backup internet line so your operations are not suffering. You might require broadband for the home users because work from home users also will require some broadband or 5G or 4G connectivity. You require antivirus subscription also for all 65 users. That would cost you approximately 65,000 rupees. You would require cloud storage, approximately 12 TB. That would cost you approximately 2,40,000 rupees. And you might require G Suite or Microsoft email services. We have taken G Suite because it is cheapest. So it is approximately 1,62,500. So you will require hardware, you will require software to load on that hardware, and you will require service to run your operations in terms of email service, internet service, antivirus service, cloud backup service, etc. So overall, if I go back to all the slides, it is 21,75,000. Let's say around about 22 lakhs. This is 31 lakhs. So it is going to approximately 53 lakhs of rupees would be the capital investment, and around 6,75,000 rupees would be the yearly cost, approximately 55,000 rupees per month. So this is what traditionally, if we create all the infrastructure on premise, this would be the cost, and this is the investment and recurring cost we have to incur. Now, having understood this, we would like to explore the possibility whether we can reduce this particular cost, we can reduce this particular magnitude of the investment. And let us understand how we do it. So I'm going to throw 4 or 5 different ideas which are very impactful in making this investment minimum and minimizing the recurring cost of your subscription services. So now we will discuss these ideas. So first idea to create lean and mean IT infrastructure is very smart idea, and that is basically use of refurbished computers. This is very good idea, and let me vouch for this. At Sinnersoft, we have been using refurbished computers very much, and we are very happy. Our operations, our call center operations, we have to support our customers. We cannot afford that our IT systems are down, and we rely on refurbished computer. But there is a trick how you do it. So when you have a refurbished computer, you only retain cabinet, motherboard, processor, and ports, nothing else. And rest, you add new things to it, means add SSD, hard disk, RAM, SMPS, and there are 45 quality checkpoints. You can Google it and you can find out, and then you can make your refurbished computer ready. Most of the times in a computer system, hard disk wears and tears, SMPS wears and tears. When you have that new, you have an extended life for your refurbished computer, and you can use this refurbished computer very efficiently and minimize the cost, and we will see its impact. Another idea is, instead of creating entire IT infrastructure with different hardware things, you can go for IT in a box kind of solutions. Our product Black Box is one of them, but you can go for any IT in a box solution because you are an SME. You don't need to service 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 users. You would only service less than 100 users. IT in a box solution will avoid the cost of file server, storage, domain controller, endpoint controls, VPN, mail distribution and vigilance, firewall, backup solution, off-premise backup solution. All these things can be avoided by deploying a right kind of IT in a box solution, and that saves a lot of cost. And then we have to understand that our software requirements, if they can be fulfilled by alternate software. So you can find out alternate software of MS Office. I would recommend you can use WPS Office for most of the users who do not require very advanced features of MS Office, or you can subscribe to MS Office Home, which is shared by 5-6 people. And if you're not using MS Office or MS OneDrive or other services, you can very well do it. You can also explore better email clients like Thunderbird, and you can get rid of your dependence on Outlook. And for remote access, instead of deploying a terminal server and paying for RDP licenses, you can implement virtualization technology where your applications like Tally, SAP, any kind of application is virtualized on remote users' computer system, and it is more cost effective, and it avoids the terminal server license. It avoids terminal server hardware. It avoids IDP CAL also. And fourth idea is explore DNS splitting for email hosting. So let me explain this. This is very interesting idea and it can actually reduce a lot of cost on email services. So let me share that particular. So normally, let's say you have 65 users. You will have 65 mailboxes on Google. Let's say these are 65 mailboxes on Google. 1 to 65. And every user connects to his or her email box and downloads the emails or access the emails right from that particular mailbox. Now, Google provides, or any other service provider provides, a lot of features on individual mailbox. As our model organization has approximately 45 users sitting in the office, it may be possible that all the features of this mailbox may not be useful for all your users. In a mailbox nowadays, you get email service, and beyond email service, you have so many other things. And few of your users, management users, want to use those services extensively. So what you can do is, instead of paying for 65 users, you can buy one large mailbox in which you can create multiple aliases, and then you can deploy DNS split technology. Now, this particular technology will download all the emails from this single mailbox. It will parse the email header, and then it will create its own mailbox and divide all the emails to different mailbox, and users, instead of going to direct service provider, will connect to this DNS splitter and get his emails, and that will save a lot of cost. So let's say you are paying 2,500 rupees per user per year. Instead of that, let's say you want such large mailbox and all extra services only for your 5 users who are your management users. And for rest of the 40 users, you just need email, plain vanilla email system, which is of course filtered through Google's anti-spam antivirus. You can take one mailbox on Google. So you can take 5 plus 1, 5 for your management personnel and 1 for all other users. All emails can go in this, and then you can deploy DNS splitter technology, and then this DNS splitter technology will further divide it in 40 mailboxes, and users can access their mailboxes individually. So this is how you can save huge cost. So now we will see what is the impact of this particular idea on our cost. So let me share the presentation again. Yeah. So now what we are going to see is refurbished computers, IT in a box solution, alternative software, and DNS splitting technology. If these 4 ideas are deployed, how you can minimize the investment, how you can reduce your IT expenses, and how you can create lean and mean IT infrastructure. So now we will go to the next slide. We'll compare it with the traditional solutions. So now you see, if computers are taken refurbished. So let me go back to the last slide first so that there is no confusion. So here what we have seen is the desktop hardware. If you see here, the desktop hardware, we have estimated 18,000 rupees. And for Windows 11 operating system, we have estimated 14,000 rupees. So it is 18,000 plus 14,000, that is costing 32,000 per desktop. In refurbished, you have an option to buy a computer system which is with operating system. So ignore this 5,000 rupees. I will help you understand why you should ignore this 5,000 rupees. Let us understand you have taken a refurbished computer which is preloaded with operating system. And then you buy a new display, you buy new hard disk, and you buy new RAM for that. So combined, new hard disk, new RAM, new display, plus the cost of the refurbished computer, which includes the Windows 11 or 10 software, that would be approximately 19,000 rupees. So you can save, compared to 32,000 rupees, you can save almost 13,000 rupees per user, and that will be a big advantage. So why we have written this 5,000? Because in the software part of refurbished, we have taken 14,000 as operating system, which anyway we are not going to pay. So 14 plus 5 is 19,000 as compared to 14 plus 18 in the new computer. So this is the logic, and this is how, just a moment.
Sir, it's not visible, sir. If you are sharing a slide, then.
My slide is not visible.
No, sir, it was not.
Okay, let me come back. Now is it visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible now.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I think I goofed up something. So let me again explain. So here, when we talked about new computers, we have taken the rate as 18,000 rupees, and on all those 35 computers, we are putting an operating system of 14,000 rupees. So that is coming to 32,000 rupees per computer, 14,000 for OS and 18,000 for hardware. Now, when we talk about refurbished, we are taking hard disk, RAM, and monitor new, and we are taking cabinet, processor, ports as refurbished. And these refurbished computers come with preloaded operating system. So we are estimating 5,000 is a notional value, and we are estimating 14,000 in OS. So total 14 plus 5 is 19. So in 19,000 rupees, we can have a refurbished computer which is preloaded with operating system and which has new hard disk, new RAM, and new display. So this is how we can make it 19,000 rupees, and we can make it very cost effective. Then we can also apply the same logic for refurbished workstation, which are Xeon 16 GB, 240 GB, and we add 14,000 rupees operating system. Normally refurbished workstations come with preloaded. So 30,000 rupees is the cost, plus 14,000 rupees as software. So that is 44,000 rupees. So here you can also save 50%. And you are quite assured because you have changed the worn and torn components of that particular computer. Then instead of giving Windows laptops, you can have Chromebook for your users who are remotely working. And you can have application virtualizations on all those Chromebooks so that your applications like Tally or whatever are accessible on their Chromebook through virtualization technology. Then you can have IT in a box solution for such a size of the organization. A good IT in a box would be available at 6 lakhs of rupees, which will avoid the investment in server, Windows server license, client access license, RDP, terminal server license, firewall, VPN router, endpoint controller, so many things it will avoid. And it will be going down to 5,95,000 only. And then you can have a virtualization software. In order to run that virtualization software, you might have to dedicate a good hardware, and that hardware could be around 44,000 rupees or 40,000 rupees. So this is how you can use effectively refurbished computers and IT in a box solution to minimize your hardware cost. And just look at how it is. So in a hardware cost, it would save around 6 lakhs of rupees. Earlier it was 21 lakh 75,000. Now it is 15 lakhs 10,000 rupees. So you have almost saved 30% of the cost in the hardware. Now let us look at how much difference we make for the software. So as I've told you, when you go for refurbished, this is almost zero cost. But since we have taken it in a consideration, we are still considering it. Then on La Chromebook, you don't need to install any operating system. You don't need this servers, client access license, because you already have invested in IT in a box solution. So all that cost will be zero. And tele multi-user, of course, it would be at the same cost. Then you can go for a virtualization software. Black box access application anywhere is also one of them, but you can go for any virtualization software, and that would cost you around 6,000 rupees per user. So for 25 users, 5 users at your location 2 and 20 users your laptop users, you can spend this money, and then you can bring down your software cost from 31 lakhs of rupees to 8 lakh 34,000 rupees, which is a huge saving. You can very well save this money and make your IT infrastructure lean and mean. Now let us look at how much cost difference it will be on the service part. Of course, you will require the same sort of internet, so there won't be any change. Only change here is at different locations in your backup internet, because you will not require very robust backup, because most of your users are using your applications using application virtualization. Then it would cost you approximately, here there would be the saving, the 65 users for which you are paying 1,62,500 rupees, 2,500 rupees per user per email ID. If you apply DNS splitter, it would cost you just 53,000 rupees, and you would save good 1 lakh rupees per year for such a small organization. So this is how you can save marginally the cost, which is your recurring cost. So now if we look at the total impact of this entire exercise, we have saved approximately 30,000 on your hardware. We have saved approximately 70,000, 70%, 30% on your hardware, 70% on your software, and approximately 18% on your services. And that is how you can save good money on your IT infrastructure without really compromising the return or the objectives. And it can achieve all those objectives which we have actually defined in the beginning of this particular session. So this is about how you create lean and mean IT infrastructure. So I request Prasanna to run the poll just to get the feedback on these ideas. And then you can also post your questions in question answer session, or raise your hand. I will answer. We have approximately 12 to 15 minutes to answer your questions. So as we see on the screen, the idea, 18% of the attendees bought the idea of refurbished computers, 55% of the attendees bought the idea of IT in a box for small organizations, 14% bought the idea of alternative software, and 14% bought the idea of DNS splitting. So now I would request to open the house for questions. Yeah, you can write your question in Q&A. You can raise your hand. We can understand your question, and we can answer them. We have approximately 12 minutes for the Q&A.
If anyone has questions, please raise your hand or write in the question and answer tab so that the questions can be answered. Yes, Mr. Deepak. Please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Remote access, I have a solution for remote access.
Yeah, Mr. Kawa, can you please help us with your question?
You say remote access services, sir. I highly recommend for remote access. You say calls not required, or say terminal services are not required. What is the alternate available?
Okay. So yeah, I would like to show this on the screen. Rajendra, can we show this remote access application virtualization thing? Can you please open one of the computers on which it is installed? So, Mr. Kawa, let me give you a brief background before I take other questions. You want to, let's say, access your application. It could be Tally, it could be ERP or anything. What you can do is you will have your ERP server or Tally server. You can put one workstation grade of computer system, which is used for virtualizing the client of your application. So Tally has a server and a client is installed on every computer system. So that particular client will be virtualized on this particular intermediate computer system, and that particular intermediate computer system will be installed with virtualization software. And the virtualization software will also be installed. The client of that virtualization software would be also installed on the user's computer. So now let's say this is a laptop of which we have taken the remote connection. And let's say we want to access Tally. Now, if you see here, Tally is not installed on this particular computer system. Tally client is not installed on this particular computer, but this is a remote user. It's a laptop and he wants to access Tally. So he can simply click on an application virtualization client. So we have set up Tally server. We have set up that intermediary desktop, which is very cost effective. It runs on Windows 11 because Tally, just a moment, Rajendra, don't take it fast. So we have a Tally server, we have something which is intermediate, which is virtualization software, and that client of that virtualization software is this one, which is highlighted by Rajendra. Okay. Now, when the user double clicks on this, whatever applications are configured to be virtualized on that intermediary hardware will be shown here. And that won't require terminal server, that won't require RDP-CAL, and you can simply use it. Now we'll see how you can use it. You can use it in two ways. One, by double clicking it, and then without installing Tally client, that application will be virtualized on this desktop, or you can use it through internet browser also. So we will see both. So can you go on Blackbox AAA access application anywhere virtualization client? Now double click on that. Yeah, Rajendra, please double click. So now if you go Tally, just see Tally, there are two softwares which are virtualized on this platform for demo purpose. So go on Tally, click on Tally, click on other HRMS software also. So now the client of these applications are not installed on this desktop, but they are virtualized. Now the user can use it. Only keyboard and mouse clicks are only transmitted. So it is very fast. You don't need to use RDP-CAL anything. And see, this is how you can use this particular software. The client of this software is not installed on this particular computer. Just go to Tally, please. So you can go to Tally and you can use Tally also like this. Yeah, so let me go to another question.
Yes, Mr. Tejal, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Normally what happens we have checked out this. In order to save money, we go for refurbished laptop or desktop, but the maintenance is very high and they are not as reliable as the new ones.
Right. I agree with you, Mr. Soni, but my recommendation would be you never go for a refurbished laptop. Okay. Instead of going for a refurbished laptop, you can go for a Chromebook, which is very cost effective, and then you can have this kind of application virtualization solution on which you can run any Windows-based software on Chromebook. Okay. For refurbished desktops, what I suggested is that you can only keep the cabinet ports and processor. Why you keep processor? Because your Windows is installed and it is OEM Windows which is bound with the processor. And you can change the hard drive. You can go for SSD hard drive also. You can go for new set of RAM. And then you can minimize your possible maintenance cost. So this is how I would suggest. This is what we do at Cinersoft. We have large number of computers and we do it like that. We never use refurbished laptops because refurbished laptops are very high maintenance cost, battery and everything. So go for a new laptop which is cost effective, and go for such virtualization technology, which is just 6,000 rupees per user per connection, and it is also one time cost, so that will save good money. I hope I could answer your question.
But if the setup is new, we want to set up a infrastructure for 50 to 80 people and they want to prefer a desktop. I understand if that organization is old, then they can do this changing of the space to have a better efficiency. But in case the installation is new, then what do you recommend?
If installation is new, you can have a new installation with refurbished computers. We have just set up a new call center in Ahmedabad with approximately 40 refurbished computers. It's a new setup. But
Okay,
in those refurbished computers, we have replaced the hard disk with SSD. We have changed the RAM, and we have also given the new display. And that costs us around 16,000 to 17,000 rupees per computer.
Okay, you mean to say by these systems, in that you replace all this thing, it becomes much more cost effective, and the
Yeah.
operating system you get it
Even
at a very lesser cost.
there are very large companies who do this. You know, they buy the computer systems in bulk. They have their own quality checks, and then they sell refurbished computers with 1 year of warranty.
Okay. Now one more
So
question.
even when we set up our call center, we did not do all these things ourselves. We approached one of such companies, and they supplied all these things with 1 year of warranty at 17,000 or 18,000 rupees per computer, and which included new display, new SSD hard drive, and a new RAM.
Okay, got it. So in short, what I understood regarding the software dimension in this, instead of going for Windows, CALs, and other licenses, you can go for virtualization. That becomes cost effective.
Virtualization and IT in a box solution.
IT.
If your network is not very large, if it is less than 300 users, you can go for an IT in a box solution, which is primarily a very customized Linux systems, which acts as a file server, mail server, firewall, proxy server, VPN server, endpoint controller, backup system, storage device, everything. It works as a box, you know. So that will minimize number of hardware you have to maintain, as well as, of course, cost, because you are not buying so much of hardware.
Great. Thanks, Vishal.
Yeah. You're welcome.
If anyone else has questions, please do ask.
So we can take up one more question. almost we are reaching 4 p.m.
Thank you, sir, for such a detailed, insightful, and knowledgeable session. We hope all you have learned and enjoyed the presentation. On behalf of Synasoft team, I thank everyone for attending the session. Please fill the survey form, which you will get at the end of the session, to give us your valuable feedback. Thanks again.
Thank you all for your time and interest, and we'll meet again with another interesting topic. Thank you very much.